and welcome to my YouTube channel. This is day 3 of Christmas in July 2020 series. My name is Katrina and actually this is brand new construction for your card. So please, if you use this tutorial, tag me in. I would love to see your creation. To be honest, I never see the card like this, so I give it a new name. I call it center cut peekaboo shutter card, or you can call it also center cut peekaboo card. So I love it. You can create both flat completely to fit your 8x8 envelope, or you can add the flowers and create something more dimensional. Let's get started. To create a card you will need a bunch of pieces. I have all the pieces, measurements on my blog post. Link is in the description below. So I just create this tutorial to show you step by step how I create this card. This card is not complicated to do, but you need to be precise. Just, take your time, especially when you create this type of card for the first time. So I just try to cut the pieces for my card, and I'm using Candlelit Christmas collection. This is the 2019 Heartfelt Creation Christmas release, and this collection is full of blue shades as well as green and red. Right now I'm cutting the stripe to adhere my chocolate pot or teapot, as you prefer to call it, and also the elements to create the mechanism for my shutter card. So also you will need base measure 8x7, and I split the base in 3 parts, so you have 2 parts for your gatefold, the same parts, and 1 part for the base for your card. I think it's much easier to create everything like that, and also all the pieces will fit the small die cutting machine. So if you have the smaller die cutting machine, you can cut everything easily. I start with a special teapot cling stamp set. This is the stamp set by Heartfelt Creation, and I will heat emboss this image with a Wow silver embossing powder. You can use other colors, of course. I think even gold, silver, clear, white or navy will work very well with this collection. I just use silver just to try and see how this will look like with the silver powder. I create bunch of cards every day, so I experiment all the time, and actually this is the great method to keep your creative juices flowing. So I'm never bored. I never have problems what to do, because I create everything differently, and I changing technique and everything. So right now I mess a little bit the video, but you will see in the moment how I ink this teapot. So I used Memento ink called Paris Dusk, and I just try to have this more contrast. So I ink around with Dauber, and also I just look when I need some more ink, but basically I want to have this embossing more show up, to have more contrast. So I ink it up and I die cut it using the coordinating special teapot dies, and I also use this small die inside which will cut this kind of tag. I add additional layer of white card because I want this element to be super sturdy, and using the same like the small tag die, I cut bunch of the elements from the collection. You can actually stamp, and I recommend to stamp on this tag shape. I didn't have any Christmas stamps from last year, that's why I just die cut the page from the collection with the wishes. So right now I will show you how to check everything. So before we even go to create this construction, you need to check you have all elements exactly 8 inches long, and if they are straight. And then I recommend to fold it and check if your gatefold work perfectly, close, perfectly. So to do that, I will adhere my gates just so, without glue, just to check if everything is okay. Because I add the fold just around the base, I will miss a little bit, so I will have the small gap. If you put the folds, if you adhere the folds on the front of your base, it will be fine, but for me it's much better when you just add these flaps, small flaps on the back of your base. So I go back, take my trimmer, and I just cut the hair just about 1/16. You need to check how much of this 7 by 8 piece of base you need to cut, and then I check everything out, everything work perfectly. So then I stamp and create kind of mask, and then I just have a few moments with my craft board, and I create kind of center lines, so horizontal and vertical. And then I will just make the mark. Usually I'm making the mark to don't mess things up, which side is which. And I apply this mask on the center because I actually have this line on the center. I can line up this with the gap between your gatefolds, and I adhere it to first flap, and then I will adhere it to the over flap of my gatefold. So actually it will create the full look of a teapot. If you have the larger machine, you can try to create it in just from the one piece of card, but I really recommend to use two, because machine could slightly move your teapot. So that this way you will know that you have this teapot super straight, and you can use this mask over and over again. As you can see, I don't remove this mask. It's very like copy paper type of mask, and it doesn't really change the thing if you use this kind of very thin mask inside your dies. So I highly recommend to have like one perfect mask, and then you can use it over and over again. As we die cut the teapot, now I will secure the base my gatefold using just the temporary adhesive, and I'm using the sticky notes as I don't want to have any glue on my base, because it's very hot here, and glue from every single kind of tapes stay on paper. So then I just line up layers from the paper collection, and I also temporarily adhere them to my craft base. And now, using the dies, you can also use the dies with the mask. I will just clip it, because it will fit inside like a glove, and I will just adhere it to my paper. And also I will trace the edge using the edge of my die. I will trace the edge of my die using a pencil, or you can use the pen. It depends what you prefer. We will cut it later, so you will not see this element. You just need to have this line. So when I come back in, put this small die to create the handle for my teapot, and I can take out the sticky notes and die cut it. And I will repeat this process on the other side. So I will connect the two sides of gatefold. Then I will secure them with this temporary adhesive, and then I will just clip my die inside and line it up with the paper collection piece. Actually, you have this small piece I just show you from the paper collection between the teacup and the handle, and I leave this piece. If you want, you can use only this large die without cutting the handle, but I think when you cut the handle and have this like hole in between the shape, you have more dimensional look. So I use this piece just to, you know, have more like visual closure. I will show you later how I apply it. So I leave this die-cutted element to adhere it to my project on the end. So right now I'm tracing the edge of my die using the pen, and then I will use the tape to temporarily adhere it to my paper collection, and I will run it through my die cutting machine. So as we create both pieces from both sides, right now it's time to take small scissors and cut it out. And we have this line around, so I just traced this line and I just cut it. I used the small scissors for decoupage. I found them very useful for fuzzy cutting, especially from paper collection. But of course you can use any small scissors you have, and you don't need to be precise. To be honest, everyone is just looking at the mechanism, so even if I don't cut out the elements correctly, believe me, nobody will see the difference. Nice thing is when you cut these elements, and you will create this nice border around the teapot, and actually it looks almost the same like the border around the piece from the paper collection. So actually it looks like, you know, you have the additional die. So to have more contrast, I used the same ink. This is the Memento Paris Dusk dye ink, and then I adhere the final pieces to my card base. So now it's time to finish up the elements for my card. So I decide to ink all the elements. So I inking the paper collection for inside of my card. I start with assembling the paper collection to the card base, and then I adhere the gatefold sides to the base. So now it's time to prepare other elements of our card, and to do that I will ink all the edges of my stripes and tags, just to give it a finish. And to do that I will use the same Memento Paris Dusk dye ink. And then I will apply this long stripe. This is actually the 12-inch stripe on the bottom of my teapot, and to do this precisely I will use my craft mat to position it straight and almost on the center. You don't need to be super precise, but do your best to adhere it on the center. Then I will cut about 2.5 inches of this stripe. Just, eyeball it. If you cut too much, you can correct it later. Then I will just, put the teapot in the center of my composition, and using the gatefolds I will make sure this is in the center, and then using the bone folder I will fold it on the edge of my paper collection to make sure everything is lined up perfectly. So right now, holding the cap, I will unfold this flap and I will connect this small flap to the paper collection in my base. So this is the easy way to make sure everything is in the right position. So this is the last element we will add on the end, and I will show you later how to line it up. But first we will adhere the elements for the shutter. So this is the actually element I was talking about earlier. This is element in between cap and the handle, and this is of course optional. And I leave this element just to have all this thin look when you close the card, so that's why I adhere it inside the card. So then I just try to line up my shutter mechanism to be almost in the perfect position to adhere the tag. I will apply the glue on the one side of my shutter card mechanism, and then I will apply the glue on this flap with fold, and you will see everything on my video. I'm just commenting to make sure I will give you the details for everything I do. So I choose to have like this sentiment with a blue background to be on the top of all my wishes and sentiments. I clean up this little bit. I just fuzzy cut the bits of paper collection, and actually this is very important because usually when you create the element like this, you will have problems because the element's thickness is the same. They will make problem to open and close sometimes. So I discover when you have the same shape, I die cut the same shape from white card, and then I adhere it to have this sharp edge. I apply glue on this sharp edge side of your die cut. So this way you will have this smooth side under the sentiment, and actually it will make this mechanism work much easier. So I check everything, and right now I can add the glue on these small flaps, and I will line up this stripe with this stripe we adhere before on the bottom of my teacup. And then I just eyeball it and I just cut the piece from this stripe, and then I will apply the glue under my teacup and connect with the top stripe. So right now I need to work a little bit with these elements, and actually it's not difficult. If you have problem with elements, you can go back and fold one of the sides of your tag a little bit up, just to make this element work better. My cousin loved it. He already played with this card all Sunday, and he was very surprised something like this is possible with paper. And you could create this card flat, and then this card will fit a regular 8 by 8 inches envelope, but you could also decorate it with flowers. And today I'm using the Poinsettias and Holly from Poinsettia and Holly cling stamp set, dies and matching mold, and I create the step-by-step video tutorial for these flowers, so I will add the link in the right top corner right now if you're looking for some easy poinsettia tutorial. So I didn't want to take attention from teapot, or I could call it hot chocolate pot. So I decided to add like one large poinsettia and two small on each of the sides, and I fill the composition a little bit with holly leaves, and I think it's actually not too much, it's just enough to not be overwhelmed with all these elements. And to be honest, my cousin loved it. He played with this card today, and he was very surprised when something like this it's possible to create. He was fascinated with this interactive teapot, and I think this will be a perfect card for people in every age, children and adults. So I hope you like this video, and if you do, please don't forget to subscribe my YouTube channel, because it will really help my business to grow. And don't forget that we will have this Christmas in July series right now, Monday to Friday. So I invite you to join us for the next video today. And what else? If you use this idea to create the card, please don't forget to tag me. I will love to see your cards, and also let me know what you think about this new kind of construction I created for this card, but I think it's super cute. I'm talking too much, I know, but I love it. It's really cool card, really, and coloring is super easy because we only use one shade of ink. So that's it for today. I hope to see you soon, and thank you very much for all your wishes to wish me, fast recovery from my terrible allergy, and I'm doing much better. So thank you very much, and see you soon. Bye.